If a white German yells the word Kanaka at someone on the street, it's a vicious racial slur. But if you look at the top of the German music charts today, that exact same word is worn as a badge of authenticity. The biggest names in German gangster rap have built multi-million-dollar empires around the term, rapping in a dense street dialect layered with Turkish, Arabic, and Kurdish slang. Sociologists describe this as linguistic reappropriation, the process where a marginalized group takes a term designed to degrade them and adopts it as their own. The journey of this single word reveals how a group of outsiders, systematically kept on the margins, managed to hack the nation's culture from the bottom up. The word has a bizarre origin in the 19th century. It comes from the Hawaiian term Kanaka, which simply means human being. But European colonizers twisted it into a derogatory label for the Pacific laborers they moved across the ocean. In the 1960s and 70s, West Germany needed massive amounts of manual labor to fuel its post-war economic miracle. They brought in hundreds of thousands of Gastarbeiter, guest workers, primarily from Turkey and the Middle East. These workers were expected to build the nation's infrastructure and then go home. To reinforce their status as temporary outsiders, German society adopted that old colonial slur. Kanake became the standard insult for anyone with a Mediterranean or Middle Eastern background. The first generation of immigrants was effectively locked out of the German language and society. The slur became a linguistic prison, designed to keep them on the outside looking in. Their children grew up in a void. They were born in Germany but rejected by a society that still viewed them as foreign and felt increasingly distant from their parents' homelands. In 1995, author Feridun Zayomoglu challenged this exclusion by publishing a book titled Kanaksprach, or Kanak Speak. It was a direct attempt to document the voices of those living at the edge of society. Zayomoglu identified what he called an underground code. This was a subversive ethnolect, a mix of German, Turkish, and street slang. As noted in this abstract, he saw that the second and third generation had begun to lead with the name in a state of proud defiance. Putting this reclaimed slur into print stripped the power from those who used it as an insult. It gave marginalized youth a way to define themselves on their own terms. This shift moved from literature to direct political action. By the late 1990s, an anti-racist collective formed under the name Kanaka Talk. They rejected the state's demand for integration, which they viewed as a trap for forced assimilation. They argued that their presence in Germany shouldn't require them to erase their heritage. This underground resistance eventually became a commercial powerhouse. By the 2010s, German gangster rap dominated the mainstream. Artists claiming the Kanak identity became the new face of German pop culture. Today, white, middle-class German kids are the primary consumers of this music. They spend their time emulating the exact dialect and culture that their parents once tried to keep outside the gates. The shift is now complete. A word engineered to exclude foreigners is now at the absolute center of German youth culture. Integration is a two-way street. A host nation cannot entirely dictate the identity of those living within its borders. Culture is formed by the people who live it. By weaponizing a slur to claim their place in the language, the descendants of guest workers performed an act of citizenship that forced Germany to rewrite what it means to belong.